Hey, and thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Lighten Up Project. I'm so happy because today I have a very special guest. He is the leader who actually certified me as a certified laughter leader. He is officially known as the joyologist. He is the chairman of the board. He is a family man. He is one of the kindest, loving souls that I know, and I know you're going to love him as well. Please help me welcome Steve Wilson.
Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you. Great to be with you.
Good to be here. Good that you are here. Good to be here. Yes, it is good that I'm here, and it's good that you're here. Good that we're here.
Good to be somewhere.
Yes, it is. It is. I
Above
love
ground.
Definitely.
Still here, Malcolm.
Steve, you're some definitely you're a joy. You are a joy. Steve, I like to start my episodes with some spontaneous laughter. So are you game to joining me for about 10 seconds of spontaneous laughter?
I will dig in for some spontaneous. You call it spontaneous, but I'm going to dig in my memory bank, and I'm going to find mine there. I will let you. Yes.
Great. Okay.
Yes.
Well, let's do it.
We're going to do a countdown, or how do you want to launch this?
Just go in and let's get right in there and start laughing. Start laughing.
I'm laughing. I'm looking at you and I'm laughing.
Oh, Steve. Oh, wow, Steve. So share with us your story. When did you first realize that laughter was not just mere entertainment?
Oh, yeah. Well, I knew that I had some talent for telling jokes before in preschool. I learned that early on. We can talk about that if you like. But the value and what I've been teaching for the last 40 or so years is respect for humor, appreciation for humor and laughter, and how do we strengthen people and give them the tools for having a good life. So it's been a number of years that I've been involved with that, looking at the science, the philosophy of it. And as a clinical psychologist, a lot of my work has been about helping people who get into some kind of trouble with emotions, socially or emotionally. And so I think that, if you and I and some other helping people were standing on the bank of a river and somebody came downstream and they're flailing around and it looked like they can't swim and they're going under, we would reach in and we'd pull them out. And if we stood there and somebody else came downstream and they were flailing, we'd reach in and we'd pull them out. And as long as we stood there, as long as we could, we'd reach in and pull people out. At some point, we might get the idea to go upstream and find out who's throwing them in. And that is the difference between treatment or education and prevention. When we pull people out, we're doing treatment, we're doing education. When we give them tools to make it harder for somebody to throw them in, we're doing prevention. And it turns out that it's not just laughing that has these benefits. Laughing is a tool, but it's a tool that comes from perspective, how you look at things, how you see things. So we're really teaching people, and that's what I've been doing. Thousands of people have come to my workshops. I've been all over the world to help promote the idea that laughing and humor and comedy are not just silly things. They're special things for human beings if we know how to use them and use them right. And that's what my work has been about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you mentioned telling jokes, and in preschool, even as early as that, learning that you had that ability. Did you ever want to become a stand-up comedian?
No.
No? Why not?
I tried a couple times. I get too nervous. I don't want to put together an act. I've been on stage. I've done a fair amount of theatrical work, but stand-up comedy is a kind of not a performance that appeals to me. And the thing that some of the ideas that I'd like to get across are that there are dozens, maybe hundreds of words in the English language that describe senses of humor. So a person doesn't just have a sense of humor. We actually have several senses of humor. Each of us has their own combination. You like political humor. You like clowns. You like stand-up comedy. You like satire. You like vaudeville and skits and jokes, or you like to make puns. Some people say their sense of humor is weird. They would describe their sense of humor as zany. So there's all kinds of senses of humor. Interestingly, you're not born with a sense of humor. If you were thinking that you didn't have a good sense of humor because you were in the wrong line when they were being passed out, that's not how it works. What human beings are born with is the ability to laugh and smile.
Mm-hmm.
And we can see that in infants. Some people who are doing ultrasounds wonder if even in the uterus, the human being developing smiles and what's going on. And within a week or a couple of weeks or days even sometimes of being born, human beings will smile and laugh. Oh, when a little boy or girl laughs in the crib, we don't run over and say, oh, she's got a great sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Something else is happening. Human beings bubble up with laughter under the right circumstances. And if we knew what those circumstances were, we might be able to create environments that bring that out. And it turns out it's not just laughing. Laughing is this obvious way to see some kind of pleasantness or happiness is happening. But for human beings, all of the pleasant emotions are beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
So if we ask people, tell me a negative emotion, and they'll tell us fear, anger, guilt, shame. Maybe say, tell us a positive emotion. They'll say love, celebration, festivity, creativity. Well, it turns out that this is Wilson's theory. Emotions, human beings are given the ability to experience emotions or feelings. And if they understand what those feelings and emotions are about, they can manage them successfully, stay out of trouble, and to have a happy life. And it's not just, and it's all of the emotions. So I like to say emotions are not positive and negative. They're all positive. We have them for a reason. We don't always know the reason, because we can help people learn the reasons. But some emotions are unpleasant. And it's more helpful to learn about our feelings, to call them pleasant and unpleasant, instead of calling them positive and negative. Because all emotions are teachers. If you know if you're mindful and you realize what you're feeling and you understand where that comes from and what it's about, you learn how to protect yourself. You learn how to protect other people, how to get along better in the world, how to be healthier and happier. So one of the things we find and I'm very optimistic about that you can do with young children, is you can encourage them to appreciate their own constellation of pleasant feelings and to support them. And if you want to focus on humor and laughter, you can work with kids. Go through a magazine, look for cartoons, go through a book. What made you laugh? Was something funny? Let's save that in a special scrapbook, and it will identify your sense of humor, your senses of humor. And that child is strengthened and reinforced. I'm okay. And then we can teach tolerance, because your group of senses of humor is not the same as mine. So what? If I respect yours, if you don't get the joke that I told, that's okay. It's not your sense of humor. There's nothing wrong with that. But we can learn to respect people by respecting that there are differences of opinion about what's funny.
Mm-hmm.
And so we begin to have a way to get along, and we begin to help kids identify. I think elephants are funny. I think zebras are funny. Well, okay. Let's make a little book of zebras or a little book of elephants. And it's because it's pleasant. The pleasant emotions are good for human beings. How can we create environments that will put us in touch with more of the pleasant emotions? Okay, I'm gonna let you follow up on that.
Wow.
Where do you want to go? There's a lot of places we can go with that.
There's a lot of places. How about the very first one that came to my mind, and hopefully to most of the audience's mind too, is how do you define humor?
A helpful definition of a sense of humor. I'm not going to try to define humor, but I'm going to try to define sense of humor. Sense of humor comes from a perspective. It's a way of looking at things.
Mm-hmm.
And the sense of humor one of the important aspects of a sense of humor is it's the ability to see the less serious side of a situation.
Hmm.
And while we give people that definition as a tool, we're saying, remember that every situation that you encounter has many sides. And they're not all equally serious. Some are more serious, some are less serious, some are in between. In a situation, if you can look around it at the different sides, it has a financial side, it has a social side, has a family side, it has a religious side, has a neighborhood side, it can have all kinds of sides. But if you can find the less serious side, that will give you some emotional balance. Maybe it takes the edge off and helps you deal with the more serious side, because you're willing to look and say, I don't have to be overwhelmed by the very heavy side, because I can also remember there's a lighter side. Mm-hmm. Fix everything, but I lighten up. And that's your project. I lighten up, and the way to get to lighten up is to realize that this situation I'm in has different sides. Let me take a few moments and look for the less serious parts of it. To give you an example, there was a picture in the newspaper of a man whose tree had been crushed by a tree, his car had been crushed by a tree during a storm.
Okay.
And the picture shows a man standing next to his car, a tree smashed down the roof of the car. But he made a sign on a piece of cardboard, and he's holding it up to the traffic going by. And the sign has an arrow pointing to his car. And the sign says, compact car. And that's an example. He found the later side. The car is smashed by a tree. You got problems. It's serious problems with the tree, with the car, with the insurance company, with the inconvenience. Hopefully nobody got hurt. But he found a lighter side. I now have a funny way of looking at a compact car. Does it fix the car? No, but it takes some of the tension out of the situation. And maybe you can then deal with it better. So that's something we can teach people to do.
I think Monty Python put it best with their song, always look on the right. I can't sing right now. I just tripped on the words.
Well, your tongue got in the way of your eye teeth and you couldn't see what you were saying.
Exactly. Yes. Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the bright side of life.
And even for a moment, I'll give you another reason to help, that we use this as an example to help motivate people to in this direction, this lighten up direction. I'm going to suggest that my hand represents a problem. This is symbolic of a problem. Now, if I have a problem, I might study that problem. Mm-hmm. It might really get my attention. Now, the more I get hanging into my problem, deep into my problem, absorbed by my problem, focused on my problem, thinking about my problem, I get so close to my problem that it's huge, and it blocks my view of any possible resources that could help me with it. But boy, I'm into my problem. Humor, finding the lighter side, the less serious side, gives me something called psychological perspective, distance. And so as I find the lighter side, the less serious side, I begin to have distance from my problem. Now my problem is out here. Now I can see you, Malcolm. I can see possible resources that can help me. By the way, at this distance, it's smaller. I'm not overwhelmed by it. It's the same problem. It's the same hand, but it's a better perspective for working with it, not getting overwhelmed by it, and humor and looking for the less serious side of things can give me that opportunity, that perspective, that psychological distance, and makes it situation more manageable.
You are going on what you're saying right now. This analogy with the hand, that's perfect. By the way, I love that analogy, because it's very visual and people can actually see, not only hear, but see what you're talking about. Now let's get into a little more specific. So if someone came to you, earlier you were talking about emotions and people needing to, the sense of humor coming from emotions and being able to name the different emotions that people have. Well, what if someone came to you using that analogy with their hand, that this is a big emotion and they can only see this emotion? What specifically would you suggest? What is one of the things that you'd suggest for someone like, for someone who wanted to lighten up, who wanted to see the lighter side, but just couldn't? All they see is this big emotion, this big problem. What would you suggest to them?
Well, a couple of things. I would ask them to see if they can listen in on their own self-talk. What are they telling themselves about the situation? What are they telling themselves about their ability to deal with it? I am a screw-up. I'm a failure. I never do anything right. People won't like me. That kind of self-talk is going to keep that perspective like this. Not going to give you the distance you need.
Mm-hmm.
And so we might look at self-talk. Can you say to yourself, I've been through some tough things. I've faced some hard things. I've gotten through them. I made it this far. I'm a pretty smart person. I've got some friends. I can have some. So first thing I would say is, let's look at your self-talk. And let's look at balance in your life. You need balance. The secret for preventing burnout, the secret for not getting into trouble with your feelings is balance. So if things are heavy, how can you bring in some lightness? That would give you some balance. What do you do for some pleasant moments in your life? This thing here is very unpleasant. This problem that you're so into, it's blocking your whole vision of life. But you're out of balance. You're lopsided. To get some balance, can you take some time and do something that's so unpleasant? Can you do something pleasant? What do you do for pleasantness in your life? And one of the mottos that I learned from one of my teachers is, there's no time like the pleasant.
There's no time like the pleasant.
And to help people then give people permission to say, time out. I'm taking 5 minutes. I'm taking 10 minutes for something that's pleasant to me. It's restorative. It will give me some energy. I'll come back to my problem, maybe with a different perspective on solutions. What's pleasant? Maybe there's a TV show. Maybe I want to go to a comedy club. Maybe I want to go to a toy store, buy myself a toy. What? Yes, I recommend that adults go to toy stores, make it a habit. And when you're checking out and the clerk says, how old is the child that you're buying this for? Say 46. It's for the kid in me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty easy, Malcolm, once you have some of the facts with you, to motivate people as to why they should lighten up, why they need the balance, why. There's a lot of reasons why, and we can support that. The big challenge for most people is how. I get the why. I get why that could be a good thing, but I don't know how. I'm not good at telling jokes. I've never been very funny. I don't know very many funny. My family not funny at all. So how do I do it? That's what you're asking, and that's what the Lighten Up Project will teach people. That's where the great value will come.
Mm-hmm.
You'll tell them why, and then you've got to tell them how.
Yep, exactly.
That's what you're asking. How do we get that balance? Okay, self-talk, time out, permission, hang around similar people, look at other people, and by the way, realize that everybody's got problems. One of the things that fools you if you are on the internet looking at people on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and all that kind of stuff, people look like they don't have any problems. They can make their lives look like, oh, piece of cake, wonderful, I'm on top of the world. Everybody has problems. Everybody has disappointments now and then. Everybody has losses now and then. Nobody has a perfectly healthy life forever. So get that perspective straight. If you've got a heavy situation, something unpleasant going on in your life, you're not alone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's also important, I think, to get people to think about the concept called "this too shall pass." Everything changes. Everything changes, and nothing lasts. And whenever you have a good time, whenever you're in a good place in life, you're learning a lesson about preciousness, how valuable it is. Wow. And you want to enjoy it, but it's not going to last. Good times come and good times go. But the same is true of bad times. Bad times come and bad times go. So all those kinds of ways of getting in a group. We have our laughter club. I told you we were meeting 300 sessions so far of once a week. A small group of people, 12, 15 people. We get together, we laugh for an hour. We do exercises. We remind ourselves of the philosophy, the morality of humor and laughter, and permission to lighten up. Permission to take time for something pleasant, even if it's small. Even if you here's something everybody can do if they will. Very simple, and this is very important. That getting the benefits of lightening up, so to speak, it's not a big deal. You don't have to wait for the giant, big event to happen. You don't have to win the lottery. You can have it in a moment in your own life. It can be a small thing. Tomorrow or later today, when you next people that you interact with, put a little smile on your face. Little. Doesn't have to be big, not fake, not this, just see if you can remember to make the slightest smile. Enough to just barely show your teeth a little bit. Mm-hmm. Smile is a very interesting human expression. It's the most easily identifiable human expression. We can detect a smile at hundreds and hundreds of yards away. We know whether a person is smiling or not. If they're making some other face, we may not be able to detect what it is, but a smile is very important and it's very detectable in our brains. We see it, and if you put a little smile on your face, see what you get back immediately from other people. Yeah. And it's what's called a precious cycle, opposite of a vicious cycle. It's a precious cycle. And now we're interacting, and now a little warmth, now a little connection. Doesn't have to be huge, doesn't have to be hilarious, doesn't have to be just and the other thing that's going on, we'll save this for another podcast, but when your face goes into a little bit of a smile and then bigger and bigger, of course, you are actually changing the pressure on blood vessels that go through your skull and take blood to the emotional control centers in your brain. And when you go like this, you put pressure on those blood vessels inside your face. The temperature of the blood going to the brain gets a little bit lower because there's not so much going there. And the associated emotions are happy, pleasant, calm, relaxed, because you're changing the temperature of the blood going to your brain. When you go like this, you open up those blood vessels, the blood going to the brain is warmer. And now people say, he's hot-headed. Now he doesn't control his, and you feel angry and you feel worried because your facial expression is changing the temperature of the blood going to your brain. So there's a little bit of way we teach some science. You control that. If you'll just put a little smile, you'll start to control the temperature of the blood going to your brain, and you can help yourself feel more pleasant and feel better. And then when other people see that, the social effects of smiling at each other, well, that's how we want to connect to people. There you go. How's that?
Yeah, great. And let's take it one step further, because so many times there's so many people today that there's so much isolation today. I live in a apartment complex now, and I walk down the hall and I pass somebody, and 8 times out of 10, they are in their head looking down. So if I smile, they're not going to see it, right? So I need to do something else to get their attention. I need to find a different way to get their attention. And laughter is a way, maybe not laughing immediately, because a lot of people think that they might think that's weird. They might not even look up if I just start laughing. So I have to say something to them, but then But then getting to laughter, just like smiling, getting to laughter, there is a change in people feel safer. There's a change in the body. What actually happens in the brain and the body when we laugh? And why do you think that is so important, especially nowadays?
Well, there are some scientific studies that examine contents of blood and other bodily fluids and muscle contractions. And there are things you can measure to see what changes under different emotional conditions.
Okay.
But I don't think on the way to the elevator in the morning, you could stop and take out an easel and do a lecture on the biology of the brain. Seemed to me that if somebody was looking at their phone or looking down or weren't looking at me, I may not see my smile, I might say, good morning. Because maybe their ears are working. Maybe their eyes are not available.
Right.
But their ears might be. And I don't want to interfere and disturb them. That would be counterproductive. So I might try a pleasant good morning. And human beings' social psychology of being human is that we tend to want to have transactions with other people. And typically, if somebody says good morning, we are inclined to say good morning in return. This is a transaction. And it may not have to be any longer of a conversation. It's just a starting point. Just a starting point. And then be aware of yourself. If you smile, a little smile, you test it. Wilson's theory. I'm going to do Steve Wilson's theory. I'm going to do little smiles today. See what happens. And one of the things I want you to see is other people's reactions, but maybe more important is how you feel when you're doing that experiment. Check yourself. You may have a little bit more control of a way to lift your own feelings. See, if I smile at people, I feel better. Would be important.
Yes. I think I started off with one question and then my mind kind of twisted and ended up with another one. So that did seem a little, if that seemed to you like it was a little awkward, that was a little awkward. I think you answered one question. So the one question was about getting connection, getting people's attention when just a smile won't work, when they're not paying attention. And so you can smile and they won't see that smile. So you answered that. And I think the next question had to do with laughter specifically. So you mentioned, and I'm not sure how many people in the audience picked it up, but you mentioned this group that you go to. You go to a group every week where you guys laugh. You laugh and as a way of connection. And it's great. So I do something very similar, which I will offer. I offer the our audience, and all this is in the show notes. But I teach virtual improv classes 3 times a week, And with my improv classes, I combine improv and theatrical improv, and we're not really doing it as theatrical improv, but more like we are using these concepts, so the applied improv concepts, and I combine that with laughter and the positive psychology and whatnot to create the same atmospheres and changes that you're talking about. The second question that I was really wanting to ask had to do more with now getting back to laughter. So you mentioned smiling and the blood vessels, smiling versus frowning. When we laugh, what happens in our bodies? Why is it important for us to laugh?
The availability of laughter is a sign of health, although there is a kind of humor that's very hurtful. That's not what I'm interested in. Is humor that hurts, that insults people, that mocks people, that puts them down. I'm interested in the kind of humor that connects us and lifts us up.
Mm-hmm.
So there have been a number of scientific studies that show that under a condition that's I call true mirthful laughter, not fake laughter, not forced laughter. It may even be quiet. It may not even be allowed out loud. Sometimes we laugh inside. But if you are amused, if you are feeling something pleasant, if you are entertained, your body produces chemicals that have known benefits. They help the immune system. They lower blood pressure. They lower muscular tension. They help digestion. They help sleep. If the mirth is true, doesn't have to be enormous, doesn't have to be rolling on the floor, kicking your legs laughing. You can laugh on the inside and have that pleasant experience. And that's, we're going to have to do another podcast, Malcolm. That's an important topic. But that tells people, again, that's how we help to convince people why it's important to laugh. That joking and laughing are not just juvenile, not just immature, not just for kids. We are here to have fun. And there are some good reasons for it. We can study that. We need to study that another time. But more, again, that's the why. And what we want to get across to people is how.
Exactly.
You do it in your life, with your friends, your family, your job, your neighbors. How?
Yes, I will.
That's the trick. That's the secret. That's what we're going to get. We've talked a little bit about that.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do more.
Right. I'm specifically just keeping it short to give these seeds because, like you said, we have to have other podcasts. So you and I will get together. We'll continue this conversation, and I would like to give our audience just a little seeds to have them start planting, so then they can actually be part of the conversation too. We have a Facebook page, and so now people can actually ask questions on the Facebook page.
That's great.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll give them the encouragement to keep up. It's challenging. A seed has to break out of its shell.
True.
Grow.
Yeah.
The caterpillar has to break out of the cocoon to become a butterfly.
Right. Yeah.
And if you want to have more of these benefits of lightening up and the things you're talking about, it's a little effort. It's going to take some effort, but boy, it's going to be worth it.
So, again, let's have this be our last question for this episode, and then we can leave with some anticipation for our next episode. You mentioned that when you were part of, and I don't think in our introduction, I don't think I gave the actual title of the business you had. It was the World Laughter Tour. So when you were part of that, and you, as you said, you were going around the world and you were having these workshops with people, what is the biggest misconception that you found that people had about using laughter as a healing tool or as a tool to grow, as a personal growth tool?
I think a lot of people just don't trust it. They think it's for circuses. It's it's an entertainment, not a tool.
Mm-hmm.
So we can show people that it's a tool, and they can learn how to work with that tool and have a toolbox in their own life. A humor first aid kit.
Right. Yes. Yes. Lovely. Yes. All right. Well, we've planted some seeds. Yes, we planted some seeds. We have lots and lots more to talk about, but that is our time for today. So, Steve, I want to thank you very, very much. And
Terrific.
And to all of you out there watching, either watching and or listening or doing both, hopefully, thank you very much. Stay tuned next week for another stimulating conversation, discussion with someone else, equally as knowledgeable as our joyologist, our chairman of the board. So
Great seeing you, Malcolm.
Great seeing you, Steve. And to all of you out there, remember, when life gets hard, just lighten up. Look at a different side of it, like Steve suggested. There's a different side. Lighten up. Laughter is the doorway to personal growth. See you next time. Thanks.
Bye-bye. See ya.
Bye. Stressed out, stuck, or leading on autopilot? It's not a motivational problem. It's a connection problem. My weekly virtual improv classes boost engagement, collaboration, and retention, all while having fun. Register now for a complimentary month